everybody, it's Mike Frieder here with On-Call Compliance Solutions, and I'm back with another compliance tip of the week. Today we're talking about the dangers of an Azure Government shared tenant scenario when it comes to information security and compliance when considering solutions for DFARS, NIST SP 80171, and CMMC. So hey, if you're a defense contractor who's feeling overwhelmed, tired, and alone, trying to understand all of this DFARS, NIST SP 80171, and CMMC compliance stuff, I've got great news for you. You've found your home here at On-Call Compliance Solutions, where we can help you transform into your company's on-call compliance hero. Let's jump into it. Okay, lately we have been hearing about a lot of companies out there in the compliance space that have popped up overnight, claiming to be able to sell compliant per-user environments that turn out to be nothing more than a company who is selling a sub-tenant of their own Azure Government and Office 365 GCC High environment. While this scenario seems enticing and simple at first, it is alarming to us because of the substantial information security dangers and difficulties with compliance for you, the client, that come along with this scenario. How do we know? Well, I gotta tell you, after 23 years in the cybersecurity industry, we've seen the worst of the worst attacks. And oftentimes, they are targeted at much larger systems like this kind of scenario that have a single point of failure at the top. How do you recognize this kind of solution? Well, if you are buying any kind of Azure Government or Office 365 GCC High solution, always ask and demand that it be your own tenant. That's your own Azure Government tenant or your own Office 365 GCC High tenant, not one that the provider owns and then creates a subtenant inside of their environment. Here's why this is so critical and why building and buying the right scenario for your company's information security and compliance with DFARS, NIST SP 80171, and CMMC is such a critical thing to get right from the start. All right, picture this. You're on a cruise ship. You've got your own cabin, maybe a little balcony, but the ship itself is owned and operated by a big cruise line. You trust them to keep things running smoothly. But if they hit an iceberg, well, your cabin's not exactly going to float away on its own, right? That's the kind of risky situation some contractors find themselves in when they sign up for an Azure Government shared tenant scenario where the IT company owns the primary tenant and carves out subtenants for their clients. Now, this might sound convenient at first. Less setup hassle, lower costs, someone else managing the tricky back-end stuff. But let's talk about why this can be a really dangerous move when it comes to your compliance and security. First up, data segmentation and leakage risks. Yikes. When you share a tenant, you're basically living in the same digital building as a bunch of other companies. If the walls, the security boundaries, aren't built right, data can leak from one subtenant to another. This can happen if security policies are misconfigured, poorly enforced, or simply breached. That's a nightmare waiting to happen. And if you're handling controlled unclassified information, well, that needs to stay strictly isolated. And if someone figures out how to move laterally within that shared environment, it's like finding a secret door between cabins. They can poke around, access sensitive data, and potentially compromise the whole ship, not just your part of it. Next, compliance and CUI isolation. Meeting the strict isolation requirements of NIST SP 80171, CMMC, and DFARS becomes way trickier when you're in a shared environment. You've got to prove to an auditor that your CUI is strictly separated from everyone else's, and that's a tall order when you're sharing the same digital plumbing. It's a bit like trying to convince a health inspector that your food truck parked at a festival isn't cross-contaminating with the guy selling day-old shrimp next door. You've got to have rock-solid boundaries, probably some strong olfactory sensors. Now, let's talk about access control complexity. Another big headache, controlling who has access to what. In a shared tenant, the IT company might have the keys to the whole ship, including your cabin. If their staff has elevated privileges across all subtenants, a single compromised account could turn into a fleet-wide disaster. Least privilege? Yeah, that's going to be a lot harder to enforce when someone else owns the master key. How about audit and incident response challenges? Well, alright, let's say something bad does happen. Maybe someone drops a metaphorical iceberg in the network. You'll want clean, separate logs to prove exactly what happened and who was affected in a shared tenant. This is often a mess. Logs might overlap, making it tough to figure out who's really responsible, and trust me, when the auditors come knocking, you want a clean log, not a spaghetti mess of mixed data. That's going to be a hard one to explain. Now, how about vendor lock-in and reduced control? Let's not forget the classic lock-in problem. When you're in someone else's tenant, getting out can be a nightmare. Your data configurations and security policies might be deeply embedded in their setup, making a clean break about as simple as quitting a gym with a 2-year contract. Now, single point of failure. And finally, a shared tenant is a single point of failure. If the main tenant, the one your IT company owns, gets compromised, it's not just their problem, it's your problem too. Think of it like a giant cruise ship with a single hull. One breach, and everybody's going to get real wet. Poor Jack. Why independent client-owned tenants are better. Now, I'm not here just to scare you, right? That's not what we do here at On Call, but I am definitely here to warn you about the icebergs in the ocean. The good news is you don't have to live like this. Independent client-owned tenants give you the total control over your own data, security policies, and identity management. You can draw clear boundaries for CUI isolation, simplify your audits, and avoid that vendor lock-in nightmare. It's like owning your own yacht. More control, less risk, and a much better compliance posture and experience. Oh yeah, and you actually have 100% control over your compliance. And hey, if you're on a shared tenant right now or considering one, it might be time to rethink that strategy. At On Call, we help defense contractors get this right, providing dedicated Azure Government tenant setups, migration assistance, and ongoing management so you can own your data and keep the auditors happy. And remember, check the fine print. Oftentimes what we discover is these people selling these sort of subtenant type relationships or enclave scenarios, or even just compliant solutions, well, they're not actually addressing the real problem that you need to spend money to solve, which is you actually need to get compliant. These solutions don't make you compliant at all. Only your company can be compliant, and that's why On Call works with you, the company, on your individual basis to make you compliant. That is a huge difference between all of these other solutions. Again, a lot of our clients wind up coming over to us from those kinds of solutions when they find out that those solutions, again, solutions like secure email solutions that may be compliant, but oh yeah, the whole rest of your company has to be compliant too. You've still got 80% of the puzzle left to solve, even though you spent good money on solving the first 10 or 20%. So again, if the problem is I need to be compliant so I can win defense work, well, the answer is you've got to go to a company like On Call who's going to actually address the whole problem from the top down. And that's exactly what we do. It's a huge differentiator between On Call and everyone else. We actually address what the real problem is that you have. You need to be compliant, and that's what we're going to help with. So hey, at On Call, we take defense contractors just like you who have had this DFARS, NIST, CMMC, ITAR, and EAR information security compliance stuff drops in their laps like a seagull on a sunny day. And we teach you how to level up and be a proper On Call compliance hero for your company, eliminating gaps, gray areas, and getting this solved, all while showing you how to leverage compliance as your secret weapon to land more defense work with higher profit margins. Now that's what becoming an On Call compliance hero can do for you. And if you're looking for more help getting compliant, our compliance experts are always on call for you. Visit cmmccompliancesecrets.com or check out the description below for links to get help right now. And if you love the content you're putting out here for you, help us out with a big thumbs up on that like button, or even better, my favorite thing in the world, smash that subscribe button and let us know that you're getting the latest compliance content as soon as we roll it out. Until the next compliance tip, my friends, stay safe and secure out there, and hit us in the comments below to let us know what you'd like to know more about when it comes to information security and compliance. I'll see you on the next one.